Okay, well, we're about to kick into gear, ladies and gentlemen. So, in about 2 minutes' time, we're going to rock and roll with this training. And what I want to do tonight, I really want to accomplish something very powerful, something that I see happen so often with so many people. That is that they're trying to find their path. And so, again, before I get too deep, just going to hold on for a minute or two and make sure that our guests are arriving. And we'll be getting a couple of them coming in pretty soon, I would say. So if anyone's out there and they can hear me, please let me know. Am I coming through loud and clear? Are you seeing my handsome face? And is the technology doing me favors? G'day, whoever that. I only see Facebook users, so I don't know who the party is, but thank you for letting me know. So sounds like you can hear me, which is great stuff. All right, we're going to have a lot of fun. I really am keen to share this training today. I'm hoping by the end of it, if I do my job right, that I'm going to help people get a lot more clarity and be able to make a lot more very important choices with a lot more confidence. That's the game plan anyway. So I'm going to kick off right about now because it is 6:30. All right. So guys, look, here's the thing. Ian Marsh here, if you don't know who I am, and you probably do because you are in our private group. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you on a bit of a systematic process to help some of you find some answers that I see people struggle with all the time as a business consultant. And that is just wondering what the next chapter is going to be, wondering what the next step is going to be, and just giving you a system or a process that you can follow so that when you're making these decisions and when you're deciding where you're headed to, you can do it with a lot more confidence, knowing that chances are you've made a pretty good choice. Okay, so again, many of you would know that what I do is, well, two things. I help people become very successful business consultants, and I also consult with business owners. But that's not my agenda today. My agenda today is to walk you through this process, which is a really cool process. And now, just let me know, again, Mr. G'day, let me know. Can you see my screen? Is that coming through okay to the world at large? Please just pop it into the chat and let me know that you can see me. So can you see the slides? That an amazing example of graphic design that I've done? Please let me know. Pop it in the chat. Someone, whoever may be there watching me out of the thousands of people watching right now. Can anyone see this screen, the PowerPoint? Don't be shy. Mr. G'day? Yes, fantastic. All right. Well, that gives me the sound to get going. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you 5 steps to building the life that you want. And this works. What I'm about to share with you, it has been done, even though it's not the right word. It's been done for thousands of people. This process that you're about, I'd like to say I invented it. That's what I'd like to say, but that would be very, very uncool of me. But what I do is I model people that are successful. That's my secret to life. And so I'm going to share with you how this process works. Now, the motivation for me showing you these steps to building the life that you want was I saw these studies was it today, yesterday, shocked me. So only 14% of people apparently are happy with their lives right now. 14%. Now, I know we've got all these dramas going on at the moment in the world, but that's a mighty low number. Here's another stat for you. And look, I know it's America, but what happens in America pretty well happens in Australia a few years later. So they're fairly comparable stats. So there was another study done reported that 53% of Americans were unhappy at work. Well, that's no good, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to see that. There's no reason why you should be unhappy when you jump out of bed. If you are unhappy, again, that's why I want to show you this simple process so that you can change it and become happy. It's easier than you think. Now, Bill Burnett was the person that I learned this from, and he wrote a really good book called Designing Your Life, if you are so inclined to read it. What I'm going to do here is outline the principles that he teaches, and hopefully I'll do it in a concise way, which is not too intellectual. He's got a lot of letters after his name, so sometimes they get a bit deep. But I'm just going to try and put in a common sense, street smart method for you so you can apply this principle. All right, so we're going to start off with some dysfunctional beliefs. And basically, there are common misguided beliefs in the world that really prevent a lot of people achieving what they want in life. And we'll start off with the first one, and that is, well, what's your passion? How many of you have actually had that? Say, oh, what's your passion? Do what you love. Well, if someone says to you right now, well, what's your passion? Most people probably go, I don't know. Okay. And the fact is that only 20% of people are really driven knowing what that passion is in life. So that answers the question for 2 out of 10 people. What about the other 8? So that's why we call it a dysfunctional belief. You know, work to your passion, do what you love. Well, very few people can tell you what they love until they really put focused effort into it. Here's another dysfunctional belief. Well, you should know by now. Come on, dude or dudette, you're 30 now. You should know this, okay? You know, if you don't know, you're late. Okay, who's relating to that? You know, you should be married. You should have a promotion. You should make more than that. What are you doing? Ladies and gentlemen, never should on yourself, okay? There's too many people out there more than happy to do it for you. So make sure you speak kindly to yourself, okay? But it's okay, all right? If you haven't got something happening at the moment, that's okay. And the third one, and again, this is a bit controversial, this one, be the best version of you. Okay, well, here's the thing. Especially it's proven when it comes to goal setting. If there's a goal that seems unattainable, too far away, rather than motivate you to make it happen, it actually demotivates people. So the unattainable best is the enemy of the attainable better. So I put to you, how about just make a better version of yourself? If you got a better version of yourself tomorrow than you have today, well, that's cool because you're more betterer. Does that make sense? So, and that way your brain and your mind can handle it. Say, okay, well, I can get that far tomorrow. Rather than, I'm going to be the best, I'm going to do it. Well, for a lot of people, it's going to scare them. So just be a better version of you. Now, let me ask you a really deep and meaningful question. What do most people want? Well, largely, wouldn't you say they just want a more meaningful life? I mean, isn't that really what we're here for? God, give me meaning. What's the purpose of it all? And I won't go into life, the universe, and everything at the moment. But basically, there's a process to us having a more meaningful life. And that's what I'm going to walk you through these 5 steps now. It starts with you connecting the dots. Okay, so those dots, what are they? Well, they start off with, well, who are you? Okay, what's your story of yourself? What do you believe inside who you are? What do you believe and what you do? Okay, I know it's a bit esoteric. Stay with me on this. So, connecting the dots to these 3 questions. Who are you, what you believe, and what you do? So when you connect your work view with your life view, that's when you have a meaningful life. So here's an exercise for you. 2 questions. Now, I hope you've got pen and paper because this will have a huge payday if you stay through these processes I'm about to give to you. Okay, so the work view, if you answer the question on the work view, so why do you work? Okay, if I'm talking to you right now, why do you work? Why do you get out of bed each morning and work? What is it for? Okay, what's it in service of? And if you just say, well, I've got to eat, well, maybe there's a bit more work you got to put into that answer. Okay, so after we do this process, I urge you, sit down and answer these questions, maybe 250 words or less. Okay, so what's my work view? Why do I work? And then here's the second one. What's your life view? So why are you here? So what's your faith or what's your purpose in the world? Sit down and think about that. Write answers to those two questions. It doesn't have to be a novel, just under 250 words. Answer the question. So why do you get up and work? So what is it for? What is it in service of? And then your life view. Why are you here? What is your faith or view of the world? Okay. So that's the first step. The next part is avoiding gravity problems, something that you can't change. So let me give you an example. I want you to imagine that you're there with a friend at a coffee shop and they're stuck in their job and they're whinging and moaning how they hate what they're doing and they don't get paid enough and they're not appreciated, but they're not willing to do anything about it. Well, here's the thing. You can't solve a problem you're not willing to have. Okay, so if they're not willing to do anything about this issue with the crappy job or not making enough money or could be a poor relationship or whatever, if they're whinging and moaning but they're not willing to solve it, then it's just a circumstance. Okay, it's not a problem. It's just, well, that's life and they've got to bitch about something. So it just becomes a circumstance. So either accept what's going on and stop bitching or commit to solve. Okay, so that's the thing. They're called gravity problems, and there's some problems you just can't solve. So say, for example, you work in a family company and only the family can have the top management positions and take control. Well, if the top family have those management positions, you got to either accept that you'll never be running the show, okay, you'll never get promoted to management, or you leave. That's what I mean by gravity problem. So if you accept it, that's okay. But if you're not happy with it, then take on the problem and solve it by leaving. Because I can tell you that when you break through the terror barrier, that's where the success happens. It's scary maybe to leave that job or leave that situation that you know of to go to the unknown. It's normal to be fearful of it, okay? But when you do it, that's where the biggest breakthroughs happen. So there's a process for choosing well. Okay, so these are, you have a look where you are right now in life, and it's really the culmination of the choices you've made, good or bad. Okay, the choices that you've made to date have ended you up exactly where you are. So in probably 97% of cases, you're exactly where you deserve to be. Sorry to tell you that truth. It's a harsh reality. But there's a 4-step process to choosing well. Okay, so the first one is gather, and I'm going to approach each of these separately. First step is gather and create. So gather ideas and create. Second one is then narrow your choices down. The third one is you then choose. And the fourth one is you then, once you've chosen, you go, you beauty, and you just let go and move on because you've made the choice. Just like with your management job, if you don't like the idea of not being in charge of the company and you know you can't get promoted in that company, either let go of it and move on, or stay there and accept your lot. So we're going to start with the first part, which is gather and create. So what we want to do here with gather and create is we want to gather different ideas. And I've got another exercise for you. And I hope that pen's working hard. So I want you to imagine that there is a multiverse. And by the way, there is a multiverse. Okay, so quantum physics prove it. But imagine there's a multiverse. So there's multiple Earths out there, ladies and gentlemen. And on those multiple Earths, you can have different lives. Okay, so on this Earth, you could have one life. On another Earth, you could have another life. Okay, you got the idea? Now, most people can choose generally up to maybe 7 different lives. That sort of maxes out most people's thought processes. But I want you to think about this now, okay? And say, okay, so there are multiple Earths that you can have different lives on. And so if you're going to choose a life, I want you to actually think of 3. 3 is a magic number. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example. So imagine your first life on one planet Earth. Okay, maybe you're doing exactly what you're doing right now. Maybe you're improving it a little bit. You might take the occasional holiday overseas if they'll allow you on the plane. But largely you're doing what you're doing. That might be the life on one Earth. Now I want you to take place on another Earth. You have another life. So imagine the robots have taken over your job and AI's taken over and you've booted out of what you're doing right now. What would you do next? You had no other option. You had to do something. So what would that be? Okay. Think about that. So you got this other planet, this other Earth, and you got to have this other life because the robots took away your life on this Earth. What would that life be? And the third one is your wildcard plan. So that is, okay, you've got enough money. You're not super, super rich, but you've got enough money to do what you want to do and enough money not to care what other people think. So if you could do whatever you wanted in life and never have to worry what other people thought of what you were doing, okay, then what would that be? So they're your 3 choices, okay? Keep doing what you're doing. If your career or job or business was taken away, what else would you do? And the third one is your wildcard plan. If you could do anything, you didn't give a toss what anyone else thought, what might that be? This is the gathering ideas part of the process, guys. So now, when you've got those ideas, you've got those 3 sorts of lives, you want to build a prototype of that life, okay? And here's the real cool part, okay? So let's give you an example. So imagine you are thinking of becoming a consultant, a business consultant. Well, you want to do a bit of a prototype of that before you actually say, all right, this is all happening, I'm all in. You can dip your toe in the water to see how it feels. And I've actually got a process for that. So, for example, you could just go and see a business owner and say, you know what, would you mind me just helping? I've got a few ideas. I think I might be could be improved that I saw as a customer. See how it feels. Don't ask for any money. Just see how it feels. I can tell you it feels good when you help someone, okay? So that's what it's about with a prototype, okay? Sneak up on your new future, okay? Maybe you want to volunteer to do something on the weekend, etc. Just so you get that feel for what that potential new life could be. And talk to people in the industry. And if it resonates with you, well, great. That's fantastic. Yahoo. So here's an example. It's a real example. 45-year-old mum wanted to go from more money to more meaning. Okay, she's pretty successful. And so what she wanted to do, she wanted to go back to uni and get a teaching degree and work with the kids. And so with that in mind, she was worried about being 45 and going back to uni. You know, she heard that the millennials were a little bit suspect. She goes, oh, no. And then she was thinking, well, you know, why don't I give it a try? This is that prototype thing. So she snuck in the back of the lecture room, which you can do at unis, by the way. Well, a bit different with this dramas going on, but you can generally get into a lecture hall without too many dramas. Sat in the lecture, had a great experience, got on really well with the young whippersnappers, and what do you know? Now she's a teacher working with kids and she's loving it, okay? So that's what I'm talking about with the prototype side of things, all right? So Remember, first you gather and create with ideas. So that's your multiverse idea. Then you narrow it down. So maybe 3 different lives. And now it's the choosing side. Okay. So Zappos, I don't know if you've heard of Zappos at all. They're a huge company selling shoes. And they got this recruitment process. When someone applies for a job, they ask them to from 0 to 10 on how lucky they think they are. So 10, you're super lucky, and 0, you're super unlucky. So Zappos won't employ someone that rates themselves under a 6. I mean, let's face it. Do you want to hang around unlucky people? And it's all based on very, very good research, which I'm about to, okay? But here's the thing. Yeah, luck is real. So they did a study. It always seemed to happen at Stanford. They did a study. They asked a group of uni students to rank themselves as lucky or unlucky. Okay. And once they ranked themselves, they got them to have a look at a paper. It looked like the New York Times. And they asked them to count how many pictures and headlines were in the paper. They said, count them up. When you're finished, if you get the right answer, you come back to me, we'll pay you $100. Cool. So throughout the paper, they didn't know this, but there was text that was saying in the print, if you read this text, you have completed the experiment. Go see the facilitator and receive an extra $150. So that was in the copy of the paper. Okay. So here's what happened. So 90% of those people that ranked themselves as unlucky, they counted the headlines, they counted the photos correctly, they got their $100. Okay. But the people that ranked themselves as lucky, okay, they ranked themselves 7 and above as lucky. They saw the text in the paper and they got the extra $150. Pretty lucky. So the moral to that story is it's not about being lucky. It's about paying attention and keeping your peripheral vision for opportunities, for the right opportunities. In other words, we create our own luck. I think that's pretty cool. So always look for the hidden text, guys. All right. Now, here's the next part of it, of the process, which is choosing. So we got ideas. We narrowed them down to those 3. Now we choose, okay? So you've joined the dots, okay? So between your work view and your life view, you've joined the dots. They're your values, okay? You've gathered the possibilities, the life paths that you can take in your multiverse. You've prototyped your possible futures, the possible careers that you might want to take in these different planet Earths. Now you've got to choose one. Okay, so here's another study for you. When you're choosing, there's a thing called choice overload. I don't know if your wife's ever sent you to the supermarket to get something. It's a very scary experience. So they did an experiment and they had these testers there and they had 6 jams in a supermarket. And as people were going past, a third of people stopped, looked at the jams, and about a third of those people bought jams. Okay, pretty cool with the 6 jams there. Then what they did a week later, they laid out 24 different jams. And they said, all right, they're watching everybody. About 50% of people stopped to look at all the 24 jams, but only 3% of people bought a jam. So here's the key. Too many choices ends up you make no decisions. So when you choose, try not to have every choice under the sun with the fear of missing out. Limit those choices. I'll give you another example. You've probably experienced this. Okay, so say it's Friday evening. I say to Judge Jenny, I say, honey, what do you feel like? Pizza or Chinese? She goes, oh, I don't know. Let me think about it. So, all right, well, come on, hop in the car and I'll work it out. So we're in the car, heading down the road, say, all right, we'll have Chinese. Now, exactly when I say we'll have Chinese, she goes, oh, I don't know. I really feel like pizza. Who's had that happen to them? Okay. Well, it's quite crazy, but there's a reason for it and a scientific reason. So you won't know how you feel about your decisions until you make them. If it doesn't feel right after you've made the decision, it's okay. Cross it off your list and go again. That's why you do the prototypes. But again, until we made the decision that no, we're having pizza, then well, no, pizza feels wrong. But you won't really know that you've made the right or the wrong decision until, okay, it has been made. Okay. And that's what you call your gut feeling. Learn to listen to your gut. It's very important. Okay, so now the final part of it. Okay, so we gathered our ideas, we narrowed them down, we've chosen the path on what planet we want to live on and what we're going to do there. Now we've got to sort of let go and move on. I'm going to finish off the final step with this experiment that was done. Okay, so they got a group of uni students together and they had 5 Monets. And what they did, they asked them to rank these Monets from 1 to 5, 1 being their favorite, 5 being their least favorite. Okay. And then as people were leaving, the experimenters made a passing comment to them as they were leaving. They said to half the group, listen, I screwed up. If you want to take one home, okay, just grab it and you can keep it, but you can't return it. So they said that to half the group. The other group, as they were leaving, they said, listen, take one. It's cool. If you don't like it, bring it back. So fair enough. So half the people, they took the Monets, but they knew they couldn't return them. The other half, they knew if they took one, they didn't like it, they could bring it back and swap it. So a week later, they brought the same people back and they asked them to re-rank these paintings. And so the ones that could return the paintings, here's the freaky thing, the ones that could swap it, return it. Well, when they ranked them, they didn't like their choice. They didn't like the one that they had. They didn't like the other paintings either. In fact, they were so over art, they thought it was a big waste of time. It was very, very, very frustrating for them. However, the ones that could not swap their paintings, when they came back to rank their paintings, they ranked their painting as number 1 and they just loved it. They thought this was so cool. So here's what they learned from that. See, if you make your choices reversible, your chances of being happy with that choice reduced by 60 to 70%. It's like that saying you've probably heard, when that general got his army to an island to take the island, and then he burned the boats behind the soldiers. Well, they had no path of retreat, so they had to win. And that's really what it is. It's like going into a relationship and then you have this prenup. Well, that's giving you a reversible thing. No wonder we've got like 50% divorce rates. So don't make it reversible, okay? Play full tilt. Once you've got through the process, you've made your decision, go all in and make it happen. So to recap on this process, number 1, connect the dots, okay? So who you are, what you believe, and what you do. Number 2, stay away from gravity problems. They're the problems that you really don't have any ability to change, like wanting to run the company, but only the family will run the company. You will never get promoted to that position. Avoid those gravity problems. Number 3, have 3 plans. Always develop 3 plans, not 1. Okay, so you've got sort of 3 options to choose from. And then when you've got those 3 options, prototype them. Dip your foot in the water. Try something out. Go to a lecture. Try to help someone out. See what you can do to sort of get involved in that process before you actually make the final choice. And then the last one is choose well and be happy with it. Don't leave yourself out. When you choose, go all in and make it happen. Okay, so that's pretty well the process, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I was going to have a segue to this last screen. I didn't put it on there. But again, if you follow those steps, and I will reverse it just so you can see, if you follow those 5 steps, and it might be a little bit heavier than normal, this training that I've done, but what you're going to do is you're going to be able to choose a path for yourself where you have confidence in where you're heading, and you're going to be able to design the life that you want. So I hope you take the time to do the exercises and for you to really get serious about saying, you know what, if I'm unhappy with my current lot in life, I'm not going to stay here where it's safe. If you always play safe, guess what? You never win. And that's not what life's about. You can't play safe and hope to win. Okay. And I'm telling you, it's happened over and over and over again. Only through shock comes change. And when you get through the transition, every time, the grass is greener. So you just got to walk through that fear barrier. So now I do have, with your permission, one last thing I'll just quickly share, because this isn't really my agenda. I wanted to give you those simple processes for you designing your life. But if any of you are interested in the idea of being a consultant, I have another training coming up on the 30th of April. And if this is a journey that you think you might like to take, it really would be a risk-free journey. You know, I believe in what I do so much. I'm almost tempted. I have a guarantee where you come for the first day and do the training, and if you don't think it's right for you, I give you all your money back. I'm almost tempted to say, you know what, stuff it, do the whole training. If you don't think it's the right career for you after you've done 3 days, let me know and I'll give you your money back. But anyway, talk to me. So if you have a look up the top, you'll be able to click a button up there. You'll be able to talk to me. And I'm happy to answer any questions for you. But with that being said, that's about it. Now, if anyone has any questions, I hang around for a bit. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer it if I wasn't clear enough. It's the first time I've taught this process. But so if anyone does have any questions, let her rip now or forever hold your peace, and I will do my best to answer them. And if not, well, I hope you learned something. Who learned something? Give me your feedback in the screen. Tell me if you picked up on something from what I just shared with you. Make my day, make my evening. Before I go and see Judge Jenny, tell me if you picked up on something, if this was a beneficial return on time for you today. Anybody? Okay, so again, with that, and there is a delay, I live in hope, but I do hope you learned something. Thank you, whoever said yes learning. I really did my best to try and lay this process out for you. And by the way, this was the simplified version, the way they taught it. Thank you. The gut, mate, the gut feel, it is so important. I wish there was a name up there. I just get Facebook user in the chat, but listen to your gut. It knows what it really is. Your gut's your second brain, and the way it operates is it remembers everything you've done throughout your whole life and all your decisions, what's worked, what hasn't, etc., etc. And so your gut is such an important part of your decision-making process. So again, with that being said, if anybody is interested in joining me for the next intake on the 30th of April, applications are open, and just reach out to me. But with that, I will leave it with you, and hopefully you can start to design the life that you want to have. See you next time, guys.